just get your idea of what the mental expectation for your players that you'll be having and what that will look like for them when they go out.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for guys, especially younger guys, but for us, we're going to be in a situation where everyone is kind of new to the program. Is just being able to learn from mistakes. You bring up mental health and mental toughness and all those things. Like, a book that impacted me was Grit by Angela Duckworth, and she describes grit as passion plus perseverance. And so the people that are usually successful in life, it's not because of any special skill or talent, it's because they just handle adversity better than others. So like the big thing for us is going to be able to compete and respond. That's the mental toughness that we're looking for. If we win the play, great, respond. If we lose the play, great, respond. And then what can we draw from that experience? If we make a mistake, because we're going to make mistakes, like how do we respond to that mistake and how do we get better from it? So from a mental standpoint, that's really what we're looking for.
What attracted you to Michigan State and/or Jonathan Smith?
Well, two things. Number one, first off, I was 7 years at Minnesota, and it was a great experience. And PJ and the staff there was awesome, and it was a really tough decision to leave. And it was going to be something that was going to be a great situation in my mind to make the move. But two things about Michigan State. Number one, I think it can be special. They've been in the college football playoff, and it's been recent and won conference championships. So I think that's the first thing. And then the second thing is just everything I heard about, and Coach Smith and I hadn't worked together before, but everything I heard about him from other college coaches, from NFL scouts, from people in the profession was that you couldn't work for a better guy. And then getting to know him through the process, I felt that was kind of what my gut said. And then being here for 2.5 months, it's held true. Like I don't know that you'll find a better guy in the profession. Like he's awesome to work for. He's going to represent the program the right way. He's going to be a great leader for our players and our staff. So those two things were huge for me.
I'm wondering how much, because you obviously faced Michigan State last year, how much did you kind of get an idea of the personnel before you came in here, with particularly the younger guys that were on the roster?
Yeah, so obviously I was more familiar with the offense because that's who we had kind of competed against. I did get a chance. Obviously, you go through a year and you get crossover film where, hey, you're getting ready for an offense and you see another team. So I did see the defense a little bit. I knew there was a good amount of guys coming back. I was able to watch a little bit of film before. And then obviously once you get here, that was one of the top things that we did, is just put on tape and watch guys and evaluate them. You're not worried about scheme. You're not worried about any of that. You're just putting film on and watching guys play. So that was kind of the process.
Were you able to share some of that intel that you had from scouting with Brian about what the offense he's got and what some of those?
No, honestly, no, because they're doing the same thing. They're putting it on. Like everything that we have is more of like schematics and tendencies and tips, and those things kind of get thrown out the window when there's a new offense and defense.
In the Teal and Maine, I've heard you say that you graduated a lot of guys and had brand new personnel. You mentioned a moment ago that there's not as much of a players leaving. You've got more players coming back. How is that unique in terms of the challenge? You got some experience, you got some returning players, but it's not a complete losing players. If I'm accurate about what you said.
Yeah, well, the thing that I found over the years is when you have success at places like Teal and like Maine, which are not those were not quote unquote the top jobs in the league. And I was fortunate to be a part of some good teams when we were there. What you found is those teams recruited and then developed their players well. I think development is the undervalued thing in college football. Like, you can recruit, but you got to develop, right? And I think developmental programs are the ones that have lasting success. And so at those two places, that's what we had to do. And when we had experienced guys, that's usually when we kind of had our most success. College football, in my opinion, has changed in the last 4 or 5 years because there's much more turnover on a roster than there was, say, 6 years ago. You don't really know your roster isn't set until June, which is a different dynamic. So like that developmental process has kind of changed a little bit with transfers and things of that nature. So, I think when you come into a program for the first time and you're installing the defense for the first time, everyone's on the same starting point. So that is a little bit of difference. So even though there are some guys coming back with experience, they're learning this defense for the first time. They're learning our culture for the first time as a football program. So there's a little bit of a learning curve for them. Now, listen, an experienced player is going to learn faster than a first-year guy. That's just natural because they've been through it before. But it is a little different situation in year one than it is in, say, year 4 or 5.
I want to learn a little bit about your past. You obviously went to work for PJ.
Yeah.
As a defensive guy, how is that in terms of working for an offensive-minded head coach, and how much ownership can you take in your defense when the head coach has got more eyeballs, I say, maybe on the other side of the ball?
Yeah, I think here's the thing. Like, obviously, I'm getting with Coach Smith for the first time, but just he painted a very vivid picture of what he was looking for and what he values. Obviously, you mentioned Coach Fleck, who I've worked for before. I think the one thing that I feel similar between them is they value winning football games, and they value playing complementary football. And so I think that what you'll see in that standpoint is, like, when a head coach values that, decisions that they're making are with the end in mind of winning the game. Offense, defense, and special teams, understanding situations, understanding clocks, understanding is it a 1-score lead, 2-score lead, 3-score lead, and all the gameplay that goes into that. And just having conversations with Coach Smith, like, I know that's really important to him. So for me, as a defensive play caller, that tells me, like, hey, listen, you've got to do a good job managing situations so that we can put ourselves in position to win the most football games possible. I think it's all working for offensive guys. Like, they can give you maybe a perspective that you don't have because they're offensive guys. And I thought that my prior boss, Coach Fleck, did a good job with that, and Coach Smith has already shown himself to be able to do that. His will be at a little bit different level because he was a quarterback, and not only he was a quarterback, he's a pretty darn good one. So I think that will be something that I'll love to be able to talk to him and get inside the quarterback's head.
You go back.